And that to me is like one of the big elements that I see missing from the overall conception of like program design and where people are at from the process orientation of like, what's the least you can do to gain the most possible back? Not martyrdom and looking like a hero and getting very little for the process. That sucks, okay? That's kind of the worst. It's outcome-based stuff that's really interesting to me. And being able to design models and really plans that create trajectories that are predictable over time that guarantee results. If you can understand the essence of adaptation and how things work, now you have the ability to really apply, spreadsheets, advanced technology, data tracking, measurements, all that kind of stuff, and superimpose it over an understanding of anatomy and physiology. And if you can do that, you're almost not fair as a coach. You know what I mean? It's almost boring because it's like, oh, they hit their goal again? Yeah. Well, that seems almost like you knew that was going to happen, huh? Yeah. But don't you want that? Isn't that the thing that you want? Like that's really it. But it almost takes the fun out of it in some ways for some people. But I don't know. To me, that's just sort of like, once you get there, then there's other cool things to learn about and other things. But I really do see that as the greatest limiter right now that the industry is sort of dealing with, is a lack of appreciation of the true nature of progressive overload and matching the components of the different areas that you can bring together for that. And the two biggest being obviously training volume and food volume, and trying to have some corresponding sort of, synergistic networking of these two factors. So that's really that was the main burning piece in my head that I had kind of coming into today as something that I wanted to talk about. And like I said, the Power Hour is about opening this up for question and answer, and that can go in any particular direction, whether that be talking about anatomy, physiology, training-based things, or if people want exercise demos or whatever it is. It really kind of is an open-ended format that we've got here. So if anyone's got a particular topic or any area that they want to get into here today, and this is me just filibustering while I don't see anybody's hands up, which I've become, fairly familiar with at this point in time. And yeah, there we go. Usually, from what I understand, it takes 8 seconds for things to germinate and for someone to feel comfortable enough as the first question. So that's,
You mentioned the 4 pillars, strength and it was progressive overload, specificity.
Oh, the 4 principles?
Yeah, it was reversibility. I never heard about that. Can you go in a little bit more like what
Yeah.
you said?
So in a very short manner, it's if you don't use it, you lose it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I remember when I taught this in college, the slide that I had was 2 pictures of Diego Maradona, the soccer player. There was the one while he was playing, and then there was the one 5 years after he retired where he was 350 pounds and obese. And it's like, what happened? So yeah, very simply put, it's just you can put all this hard work into something and it can go away, which I think sort of speaks to the same idea that I had in terms of maintenance. One of the smartest talks I've ever heard on understanding the nature of training volume actually was an analogy with sun tanning, okay? So if you picture someone that's very pale, okay, and they get sun exposure, there's a certain combination of exposure to strength of the sun and time of exposure that's necessary for being able to create a pigment change, a color, you know what I mean? To really create a tanning effect. Because it's almost like if you have someone super pale and they're at the equator on a sunny day and they go outside, but they're only outside for 45 seconds, the strength of the sun is plenty strong enough, but the exposure time's not enough. So there has to be some combo between strength of stimulus and exposure to stimulus that is necessary to be able to create the effect. Now, if you excessively expose someone to a strong stimulus, they're going to get burned, and it's actually a deleterious effect. If you give them a small enough, like all you really need to do this to start the process of getting someone a tan is strong enough stimulus and the most minimal amount of time so that they tan but don't burn. How long that is we don't exactly know, but you probably want to shoot a little bit under rather than a little bit over. Now, you want to progress them over time with a little, like it's progressive overload with tanning. You know what I mean? Like a little bit more time with the same kind of stimulus. So increase the volume of exposure over time. And ultimately, you probably get to a point where it's like, this is the most that they can reach. Like this is at this current level of strength of stimuli. And now you'd want to maintain that level of tanning. And it takes a lot less volume or exposure time. You could probably go out in the sun twice a week for half an hour and hold on to that current level of tanning. And that's probably good because, you know, we were in Florida and next month we're going to go and we're going to hang out in Ecuador, and it's going to be a lot stronger. And now we can build it beyond where it was before, okay? And maybe we reach your genetic ceiling for how tan your skin can get, all right? But it's a perfect understanding of progressive overload, actually, for a quality. So I always kind of think about that when I'm trying to design strength stuff or any kind of program designed for a physical quality. Am I going to burn this person if I excessively expose them to this stimuli? Or am I going to give them just enough where I can kind of move them in the direction without too many deleterious side effects? I'm always looking for the primary effect with the least amount of side effects. And, you know, but I also don't want them to lose their tan at a certain point. And if they completely go off the radar, even for like 2 weeks or something like that, that's probably enough to where it's like they've lost a significant amount of this. And if I expose them to the same stimuli as before, exactly.